Okay, so overall, in my opinion, this is one of the easier paper 4 that they have created for the past few years, surprisingly. So as compared to paper 2, I think paper 2 is harder here. Okay, so question that students might still struggle will be question number 3 if you didn't read the question entirely. Some students might have trouble with question 10. Okay. In particular, this question D and E here. Okay. D, please take note that if you wanted to use sine rule to calculate, it is also possible. But there might be a slight discrepancy in terms of the final results lah, because you are using different value. Okay, so for me, I use cosine rule. Okay, so I will wait until the marking scheme to be out first to verify this. And the last question, if I were to say that might be a little bit difficult, is actually question 11 or question 9. Okay, because some students are not familiar with how to draw a cubic graph. Welcome back to another video here. We are doing the paper 42 from February, March 2023. Okay, I've completed the paper 2 earlier. It was on the easier side. So I'm expecting this paper to be hard. Okay, let's see how it is going to be then. So in question 1 here, Elaine and Beatrice share 750 in a ratio of 8 and 7. Show that Elaine received 400. Okay, so kind of surprised they asked this because this question here seems to be quite straightforward. So as per usual, to solve this question, you will have to do the total ratio first. So total ratio is actually by having 8 plus 7. So you'll be getting 15 lah in this case. So when we wanted to continue further with this question, I'll be taking the ratio of Elaine that we are trying to find here and multiply it with 750. So 8 over 15 multiply with 750, you will get your final answer as 400. Okay, moving on to the next one. Elaine spent 150, write the 150 as a percentage of 400. So this one again, just using a calculator, we'll be able to get the answer. So 150 over 400 times 100. So your final answer for this is actually 37.5%. Okay, quite straightforward so far. He invests the remaining 250 at a rate of 2% simple interest and 5 year. Okay, so the statement here is quite vague. Okay, because they are asking for amount that he had at the end of 5 years. So in this case, you must note that simple interest formula will only get you interest earned. Okay, so your 250 times 2% times 5 years. Aside from this, you are forced to add back the value, okay, that you invested, okay, in order for you to find the value of investment here. So 250 times 2% times 5. So with this working, you'll be able to identify that altogether with its capital and the interest earned, clocked in at $275 after 5 years. Okay, moving on. Beatrice invests her 250 at a rate of 0.25% per month. So this is the catch here. Okay, please do not take the 0.25% that you have now and divide it by 12 anymore, because this existing value is already The 0.25% is the rate for the monthly rate already. So just take your 350. Okay, the formula that I use is slightly different. Okay, I find it easier to understand. Okay, you don't have to follow the exact formula that I wrote here. Okay, so the main thing that you need to consider here will be 5 times 12. So technically, there's a 60-month in 5 years' time. So the rate will be compounded 60 times. So you have 100% plus 0.25% to the power of 60. So just in case you guys wonder how I get to 60, it is 5 times 12. So you add it up with 406.5658. And since they use the term correct to nearest dollar, the money that she technically earned will be amount at 407. Okay, so quite easy so far. Moving on to the next section, there's a Carl, Dina, and Eva. So write C, D, E first. Okay, I think they randomly made up the name here. Carl and Dina has 3, 5. Carl and Eva has 2, 3. Okay, so for this part here, okay, you have to make the number the same now. 1 is 3, 1 is 2. So we'll start off with Carl first. Okay, I thought of making them 6, which means the top group here, I have to multiply it by 2. And I will end it up with Dina's ratio as 10. Meanwhile, for the bottom part, I will be multiplying with 3. So Eva will also be multiplied by 3. So 3 times 3 is 9. So this is the updated ratio that we have now. Okay, number of oranges Carl received. So we will have 6 over the 6 plus 10 plus 9. This is the total ratio. And they share the 100 oranges. So let's try to work this out. 6 plus 10 plus 9, that's a 25 actually. Then multiply it by 100, you will get the value as 24 oranges. Okay, so this is for part B. Okay, this question is quite long. Okay, moving on to the next part. Fred buy a house. At the end of the first year, the value of the house increased by 5%. At the end of the second year, the value of the house increased by 3% of its value at the end of the first year. So the value of Fred's house currently is 60,564. So this type of question actually came out once in 2017, I think. Okay, one of the February March paper, they also come up with similar question, but that one was more complicated. So if you wanted to try, you can try to browse through the paper from 2017 if I recall correctly. Okay, I'll try to put the link down in the comment as well. For this question, you must know that at the end of first year, okay, this is the original value. Okay, it was 100%. Okay, increased by 5%. This is end of first year. Okay, now your house is valued at 105%. So to find the value as compared to the original, okay, you have to take your 105% multiplied by 103%. Okay, the reason behind is that they said it was increased by 3%. So increase from its value, hence it's actually 100% plus 3%. Okay, you need to add the 100%, else you won't get the updated percentage here. So I have to times it by 100, then I will get it as 108.15%. So please take note that for original amount of money, after increase by 108.15%, you are valued at 60,564. So to find the original value, Okay, I have to take 60,564 divide with the results. So 60,564 divide with 108.15%. So you now know that the house was, when he or she paid for it, it is 56,000. Okay, so that's the answer for this question. The answer that I give here, there is no marking scheme yet at this point of time. So if you notice any issue, feel free to let me know in the comment and I will reply to you as soon as possible. Meanwhile, it's 11 as I'm recording now. I might make some silly mistake. So please forgive me if I did make any mistake here, and do let me know in the comment section. Gabriela invested 500 at a rate of R% per year compound interest at the end of okay. So this time around, I'm going to use the formula that I like. So I know it's 100% plus R%, 8 years, and 609.2. Okay, for me, 100% is actually 1. Okay. And I skip the working a little. 602, first of all, it will be divided by the 500 there. And then as you continue with the workings, I wanted to get rid of the power of 8. So I put the root like this. And when I write the R%, okay, if I were to key in calculator as it is now, I will get the answer in decimal. Okay, it's very troublesome, so I might as well replace it as 100 first. And please take note, whatever results that you key into your calculator must be multiplied by 100. Okay, so 8 with a root of 609.2 over 500. Your minus 1 is outside. Please take note on this. Don't key it wrongly. Then multiply it with 100. You will get 2.49996 blah 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 percent. So it's approximately 2.5% if I were to round it to 3 significant figures. So 2.50 lah if you were to write it accurately. Okay, so this is how you work around and find out the interest rate here. Moving on to the next question, question 2a here. Okay, they put this table, okay, expecting you to fall for the trap. Okay, please take note that number of students here acts as the frequency. Okay, so to write down the mode, okay, I know that 32 is the highest frequency here, but when you write the answer, please take note that you're taking the 7, okay, not the 32, okay, because they actually give you a hint here at the end. It's referring to the reaction time, okay. For you to find the median, they gave us a hint about the 100 students here, okay. So 100 plus 1 divided by 2. Sometimes some teacher will just use the more straightforward method and just divide it by 2. Okay, depends on which type of teaching method. They should land on the same results. Okay, so one is showing you at the 50th, one is showing at 50.5. Okay, so for this, you'll be looking at the 51 lah. Okay, slight difference here. Let's proceed with the solving. You will need cumulative frequency to get this done. Okay, so the first group here, reaction time of 6, you only have 3. As of 7, you will have 35. So 35 is actually the total of 32 plus 3. So as we continue, 35 plus 19, you will get 54. Okay, 54 plus 29, you will get 83. 83 plus 11, you will get 94. And lastly, you would have arrived at 100. So just to give you some context for those who is unfamiliar with this chapter. Okay, for the first group, it covers to 0 to 3 basically. So here is 4 until 35. So 36 until 54 fall under this group. So regardless of 50.5 or 50, they both landed in this particular reaction time of 8. So 8 is the answer for part number 2. Moving on to the mean calculation. Okay, this one a bit troublesome because you will have to multiply every single group together. So you have 6 times 3 as the first group, 7 times 32 as the second one. Then you have to continue with 8 times 19, 9 times 29, 10 times 11, and then 11 times 6. So once you group all of them up, you still have to divide it by 100. Then you'll be able to figure out the answer. So I hope I didn't key in anything wrong. Okay, so I gotten the results as 8.31 as the mean lah. 3 significant figures, no changes to it. So that's it. Okay, question 4, probability question. Okay, 2 students chosen at random. So first thing first, please take note that without replacement rule applies here. Okay, in default, although they didn't mention it was without replacement. Okay, please take note that there's an unspoken rule. If it's about students, okay, or human being, in general, after the first draw, it becomes 99 in the second part. Okay, because one of them is taken out. Reaction time that's greater than or equals to 9 seconds, they are referring to this group of human beings. Okay, so please take note, total amount of people here are 29 plus 11 plus 6. So it's about 29 plus 11 plus 6. That's about 46 of them. Any question? Okay, I hope you are still following. So you will have 46 now. Okay, followed by 45 because one of them was taken out here. Okay, so 46 over 100 times 45 over 99. Your final answer here is actually 23 over 110. Okay, so this will be your final answer. I won't be writing it in decimal form because if I wrote it in decimal, then I might involve roundings. Okay, so try to avoid that and just keep it as a fraction for probability question. Okay, moving on to section B, box and whisker plot. Finding the range means I have to identify the value of this and this. Okay, the first one will be valued at 105. Here, looking at the position, it was located at 158. Okay, so the range now, you'll be taking 158 minus 105, 158 minus 105. Your answer is 53. Okay, so this is the answer here. Interquartile range is referring to the green color that I shaded here, which is your Q1 and your Q3. So Q3 minus Q1, you get your final answer as 142 for this. And then for here, you have 122. 142 minus 122, you will get the final answer as 20. Okay, that's for your interquartile range. Moving on to section C, the mass of each of 200 potatoes is measured. Okay, find the estimated mean. Right. So since they are giving us the things in interval, you'll be needing a midpoint first. So to calculate the midpoint, you take 50 plus 110 and divide the results by 2. So the first group, you actually get 80. So 200 plus 110 divided by 2, you get 155. 200 plus 300 divided by 2, you should be getting 250 lah. Okay. So for each of the group, you'll be taking 80 times 60, followed by 155 times 99, and also 250 times 41. Okay. So if you wanted to continue from here, you have to divide it by the total frequency. Okay, it was given by the question stating that it was 200. So not all, you have to add it manually. So try to keep things simple. Don't over complicate the process. Okay, and also be careful when you key in your calculator. Okay, you get 151.975. I try not to round this, okay, because it was exact value that we are calculating here. Okay, just keep it that way will do. Moving on, frequency density. Okay, one of my favorite question. Okay, if they ever draw this out for you here, please always calculate it as well, because it's an indirect hint whether there will be skill factor involvement or not. Okay, which will affect how much height you're drawing here lah. Okay, so for this question, you will be taking the frequency divided by the class interval of 110 minus 50. So you get 1 for the first group, so they are correct. No skill factor is involved here, which means the next part here, I just have to take 99 and divide it with 90. Okay, because you will have 200 minus 110. Okay, you get 1.1 lah. So the next group is until 200. So I just write it down for your reference. Okay, it was 1.1. So you have to count the gap, knowing that every two box represent 0.1. 0.1, 0.2, 0.3, 0.4, 0.5. Yes. So the first group will be here all the way until this part. Okay. So this right here will be your second group's value. And then the last part, you have 41. Okay, and we are dealing with 300 minus 200. Basically 41 over 100, you will get the results as 0.41. 0.41 means that it exceeded 4 by a very thin margin. Okay, and then just draw it down, we'll do. Okay, so this will be the frequency density diagram that they are expecting from you, that will earn you 2 marks with just these two simple working here. Okay, so that's it for question 2. We move on to question 3 now. This question looks very similar to one of the past year back then. Okay, but let me read through first. Alright, so I noticed a trap immediately when reading the question here. Half of the sphere is in the water. Okay, so the total volume that we have right now is total volume of the water. Volume is actually pi times r square, which is the cylinder here. We have 12 square and 3. So this part we should be getting 12 square times 3. Okay, it's actually 432 pi. Okay, so if I wanted to find the balance after remove half of the circle is hemisphere. I think I have to take 432 pi minus half of the formula given. So we have this thing and also the radius, which is a 3 cube here. So I try to work it out, minus half and then 4 over 3 and also 3 cube. So altogether you will have 414 pi. Alright, so I think we are on the right track, and this is the new or the remaining volume or amount of water inside the cylinder currently. So we take pi times 12 square still times the h that we are looking for, it will get 414 pi. So pi and pi cancel, h will be 414 divided by 12 square. Divided by 12 square, you have a balance of 2.875 cm. So the h here, okay, the actual h that they are looking for will be by having your 3 minus 2.875. 3 minus answer, you will get 2.875, which is about 0.125 as the answer that they're looking for here. Okay, so quite tricky, because if you miss out on the term about half of the sphere, then you would have minus the entire sphere instead, okay, which causes you to get answer that is not even close to the h they're looking for here. Okay, please be careful and don't fall for the trap. Moving on to the next part, the water in the cylinder is now poured into a different cylinder with radius of r. Now has a depth of 18. So this is the new cylinder that we are dealing with. Okay. So it has a height of 18. So pi times r square times the h of 18. And we have the volume of the water as 414 pi. Pi and pi cancel again. R will be 414 over 18 with a square root. So 414 over 18, you will get the R value as 4.8 based on the rounding. Okay, but to be safe, always write down the final answer first before you change it as 4.80. Okay, so you have both of the results here. Moving on, the sphere is now melted down and some of the metal is used to make 30 cubes with each length of 1.5. Okay, so I have 30 of them, which means I have 1.5 cube times 30. Okay, so 1.5 cube times 30, you get 101.25. And you have to take the sphere itself and minus off 101.25 and check the balance first. Okay, sphere is 4 over 3 times pi times 3 cube. This is actually 36 pi minus 101.25 minus 101.25. The balance is, okay, 36 pi minus 405 over 4. Okay, not helping at all, so might as well don't write it. They are looking for percentage that wasn't used here, so I just write down the balance of 36 pi minus 101.25 as the numerator. Denominator will be the whole thing's volume and multiply it by 100. So I write equal divided by 36 pi, then times 100. I should be getting the answer as 10.0 475%, which is approximately 10.5% after correcting it to three significant figures. So this is for question C lah. Okay. There's a total of 12 questions. Okay, we are not even halfway yet. Okay, let's try to speed it up a little bit. Okay. Moving on, we are at question 4. First thing first, they ask us to enlarge the triangle T by the factor of 3 at 0, 2. 0, 2 is located here, and when you wanted to enlarge, means you have to draw lines that connect each of the points up. So I have one line here, and the second line would be here. Lastly, you have one more to go actually. I just draw it first. One of them needs some adjustment, so shift this down. Okay. Multiply by 3 means the gap will increase to 3, so only this part here fulfill the condition. Okay, I always approach from either the horizontal or the vertical first. So vertical is done, then moving on to the horizontal. If it's only 2 group here, you will get 6 after the enlargement. So I count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, correct. It does fulfill the condition here. We can then move on and bring this over and then connect the last line, which is this. Okay, so this right here is your section 1 answer lah. Just write the I here. Okay, and then the rest you can then remove, okay, for your next part calculation. Okay, moving on, they ask us to rotate the triangle T about 4, 2 by 90 degree clockwise. So 4, 2 is actually located here. Okay, 90 degree clockwise means this point after 90 degree shift, it would have been here. So with this information, I think I can trace out the next point. It was just right next to it. Going up, coming back down. Okay, just straight away draw a triangle here. Okay, so this is actually the P image. Okay, moving on, we have a different thing to do now. We have a reflection to deal with. Okay, so to complete this graph, I will have to draw the line first. So to know how to draw it, I need to shift this negative x plus 6. Okay, I arrange it in mx plus c format, knowing that I have a y-intercept of 6, and if y is 0, my x will be 6. So there's this 2 here. When I join it up, okay, this is the reflection. So since I use red color already, I shift it, okay. To be safe, the line that you draw, you can change it as dotted lah, so that it reminds yourself about it. Okay. Time to complete the reflection. The point is shared here, connected to here, going up, coming back down. So altogether, this is your Q. Okay. And the last part, describe fully a single transformation on the map so that P is onto Q. P onto Q means that P reflect to Q. So this one is a reflection. Reflection from the line. Okay, I think it's down to the middle. It's touching at 4. Okay, shift this a little bit. Okay. This is the answer. So that's it for 4A here. Moving on to part B, they said vector of A, B. Okay, correct. So the things that I need to focus on will very likely be this thing right here. And to work it out, always compare and see whether the middle is the same or not. If they are the same, the next thing that I'm going to write will be the whole part that it's using is H to K. So the total ratio is 7, which means if I wanted to find HZ now, it is 2 out of 7 of HK, while ZK here is actually 5 out of 7 of HK. Okay, so this is the full picture of the whole thing that we are doing here. And to continue, they want us to find position vector of Z, means they're looking for OZ actually. To get from O to Z, I think I will prefer the route of OH and HZ. Reason behind is we already have it. I don't have to do any changes. So I don't have to put negative. Okay, no negative means lesser mistake. Okay, HZ now, it is actually 2 over 7 of HK. So the only thing that we have to work out now will be the HK value. So HK, I just write it on the side. HK is by having HO and OK. So HO is a change of direction. You have negative A here and then B. So to continue or to write your final answer here, you have negative A plus B. When you try to work it out, you will get 1A minus 2 over 7A plus 2 over 7B. So altogether, your final answer will be 5 over 7A plus 2 over 7B. So this will be my final answer here. So you have a little bit of OCD. You don't like the denominator of 7 there. You can actually take it out and make it in this form as well. Both is acceptable. Okay. So this will be your question B's answer. Okay. Moving on to part number 5. Okay. Finally, almost halfway through. Okay. They want us to expand and simplify it. Okay. Expand. You will get 6p4 minus 4p2 minus 9p squared plus 6. So 6p4 minus 13p squared plus 6 will be the final answer for 5A here. Okay. Multiply everything properly. You should be able to get the answer without any issue. So to find S here, half U plus V is 20 plus 30 and then times 7. So 50 over 2 times 7, you will get 175. Moving on, rearrange the formula and make V in terms of basically making V the subject. Okay, so first thing that I would do is to bring the T to the other side. So from multiply, it becomes divide. Then U plus V over 2. Okay, I bring it up to the top. So from here, I'll be taking S, cross multiply them. 2S equals to TU plus TV. To make TV the subject, I have 2S minus 3U. And then V will be 2S minus TU over T. Okay, this will be the final answer here. And if you were to simplify it further, you will get 2S over T minus U lah, because the T and T, when you split it into two separate fractions, they would have cancelled out each other here. That's why there's only a minus U there. Okay, so still okay, not too hard. Moving on to the next part is their favorite factorized question. Okay, the first group from the front, the first two of them, I think I will take out T. Meanwhile, at the back, I will rearrange it as 4q minus 6 first, because we have q at the front. So t2q minus 3. So please do not be lazy, okay? Try to always keep everything organized. Okay. So 2q minus 3 will be the first group, followed by t plus 2 as my final answer here. Okay, so a little bit of trick here and there, but should be fine. The next part, I will take out x from them first. Then I'm left with x squared minus 25. So this 25 here, I think I can replace it as some other form. Okay, by this point, you should have noticed that it is square minus square, which means you can use your a squared minus b squared formula here. So you have x plus 5 and x minus 5. Okay, so this will be your C number 2's results. Okay, finally, we are at halfway through of the paper. Okay, so to continue with this question, they want us to write down equation of Q1, L1. Okay, L1 is touching at y. And at the point, it is y equals to 4 in particular. So the first line, I will label it as y equals to 4. Okay, it's right over here. So this is your first answer lah. L2, however, there's two separate points, I think. L2, they gave us 0, 4. That's the first coordinates. And also 8, 0. With this, you will be able to trace your m, y2, x2, y1, x1. 0 minus 4, 8 minus 0. You will get negative 1 over 2. And your c here turns out to be 4. So we can straight away form the equation here. This will be the answer that I'm submitting for this line right here in blue. Okay. Moving on to the next part, they mention the keyword perpendicular. Okay, which means you are using the formula of m1 times m2. Some students prefer ori and new. Okay, it's negative 1. Original was given as negative 1 over 2. So you will get m2 results as negative 1 divided by negative 1 over 2. Okay, you will get the new gradient as y equals to 2x plus c. And they gave us a particular point of sub in 2, 3, which means your y will be replaced as 3, x will be replaced as 2. So in this process, you will get negative 1 as your c here. So L3 final answer is 2x minus 1. So we managed to show lah. Okay, so this is for question C here. Okay, moving on to the next part. L3 crosses the x-axis at D. So our x-axis is we have a coordinates of I just put D lah, D0 first. Okay, so try to find D0 here. Substitute it in, y equals to 2x minus 1, 0 equals to 2d minus 1, 2d equals to 1, d is 1 over 2. So we have your full coordinates now, which is 1 over 2, 0, and the c coordinates happens to be 2, 3. Okay, we are using the formula of distance between coordinates. So it's square plus square. If you wonder what to fill it in, you can use your gradient formula. Okay, if you don't want to memorize extra stuff. Okay, our y2, let's say I set it as 3. And then x2 is 2 lah. Okay, try to key in your calculator here. you will get 3 square plus 2 minus 0.5 square. So you will get 3 over 2 square root 5. Did they ask for exact? No, they didn't. So you can actually round it as 3.35 if you wanted to. So this will be your question 6 answer. Okay. So now moving on to question 7. Okay. Sets question again. But surprisingly, it's not the harder type. Okay. Then this paper 4 doesn't seem to be too hard. Okay, as compared to this paper 2. I think its paper 2 is harder than this at this point of time. I haven't looked through the questions at the back. NP. So please take note that P is referring this to this whole thing here. So you have to take 17 minus 9 to find this particular section. So I only fill in 8 for this part. Meanwhile, for C, the whole thing is 14. So 14 minus 9, you have a balance of 5. And to find out what are the leftover, I have to take 24 minus 8 minus 9 minus 5. You have a balance of 2. So this is how you are going to fill in the Venn diagram. Please do not add or scribble things here. Okay, keep it clean. Okay, and only do your workings on the side if you wanted to. You can write it here, but do not scribble in the graph. Okay, next part. Okay, some students do struggle when it comes to identifying this. So what I normally do is I use different set of color. P is this whole thing here, and intersect with everything other than C. So everything other than C are this part that I'm shading right now. Okay. Intersect means looking for the overlapping part. When I zoom in and check, the overlapping part will be this group only and nothing else. Okay, I'm trying to focus on what's over there. That's the physics only student, and apparently there's only 8 of them. Okay, so this will be your first part answer. Okay, to make your life easier, I'm going to duplicate this graph again. Okay, but this time around to solve the next section. The next section, they wanted the same thing, but they changed it to union. Union means all the part that I've shaded right now are all considered as the answer. So it involved the 2 that we have here. Okay, there's a 2. And then I have 8, I have 9 at the middle. So 2 plus 8 plus 9, I think the answer will turn out to be 19. So please take note, intercept means overlapping. Union means whoever that you shade will be considered as the answer. Okay, again, probability. 2 students are picked from the class at random. So the class will have 24 of them. Okay, because it's about students again, non-replacement rule. Okay, 1 is from both subject and 1 is chemistry only because they say not physics. Okay, so the problem with these questions or common trap in this question is that they didn't mention who come first or who come next. They are not following a specific order, so we need to consider the possibility here. So both subject is 9, then chemistry only is 5. Or you can choose chemistry first, followed by both subject. So please take note on all the possible arrangement here. If they didn't tell you a specific order, you must do both. Okay, no choice. Or some students like to straight away just multiply it by 2 lah. So when I only do that when I key in my calculator. Okay, I won't be using that as part of my workings here. So change it, you will get 15 over 92. And like I mentioned, I prefer to keep probability answer in fraction. Two of the students who studies physics are picked at random. So this will affect the denominator that we are going to set. Those who study physics, there is 17 of them. So 17 and 16. And apparently they also study chemistry, which means they are looking for the overlapping part of this 9 here. So first it's 9 students, then it turns out to be 8 after one of them being drawn. Okay, 8, 16, you will get 9 over 34 as your final answer for D. Okay, moving on to question 8. Okay, almost done. Area of the triangle, base times height. Okay, this paper is getting weird. There's question that is hard and there's question that's extremely straightforward. Okay, to the extent that I couldn't justify why they are here. Section B, they said that AB is 2x plus 3. H is x plus 5. Okay, and the triangle of the area is 50 centimeters square. So 2x plus 3 and then times with x plus 5. Please take note there's a need of half here. If you miss out on the half when you're forming this quadratic, then you're doomed. You get 50 here. So 50 divided by 1 over 2 or 0.5, you get 100 on this end. And when you expand the bracket accordingly, you would get 2x squared plus 10x plus 3x plus 15. So this is how it would look like here. Okay. So to continue with the question, you get 2x squared plus 13x minus 15 minus 100, you will get 85 equals to 0. Okay, the fact that they mentioned you must show all your workings. Okay, I think they missed out a statement here. They would have listed do not use your calculator. Did they write? Oh, they didn't. Okay, means they're trying to ask you to do your quadratic equation. So you need to pretend you didn't use your calculator at all. Okay, negative b plus minus b squared minus 4ac over 2a. Okay, you need to show them that you did part of the working. Minus 4 times 2 times negative 85, you get 849 over 4. Then I will now key in my calculator. 2, 13, and negative 85. Okay, so your final answer here will be negative 10.53 because they say 2 decimal place, or it will be 4.03. So you need to justify which one is the correct answer. Okay, and please take note that if it's about length, then it cannot be negative. So this one here will be invalid, and your x value will be 4.03 only. Okay, remember the marks is 6. Okay, try your best to write as much workings as possible. As they already mentioned, you must show all your workings. Okay, despite using calculators, some of the work you still have to manually do it and show it to them. Okay, so this is for question 8. Moving on to question 9. Okay, a different variation of a function question with differentiation involvement. Okay, so for this question, I think to find the gradient of it means they are hinting you to do dy dx. Okay, so please remember on the process, when you take out the power, every time you take it out, the power will decrease by 1. So 3 becomes 2. Okay, well, the values that you took out will be multiplied to the front. Hence, when I take out this 2, it will be multiplied to the negative 3, which you will get negative 6 first, 2 minus 1, you get 1. Value that is integer or constant will be ignored because they don't have any x. Okay, so when they say x is 1, means they want you to substitute it in. You will get a balance of -3 as your final answer for this question. To find the turning point, you have to take your f prime x equals to 0. So we have 3x squared minus 6x equals to 0. When you try to factorize, you will get x minus 2. So based on this, I know that 3x equals to 0 and x minus 2 equals to 0. X can be 2 as well as x equals to 0. Okay, that's not it because they want a full coordinates here. So you will have to substitute the 0 and 2 into the function. When it's 0, you get 0 cubed minus 3, 0 squared minus 4. You get -4. Meanwhile, when you put 2 into it, you will get 2 cubed minus 3, 2 squared minus 4. So 2 cubed, okay, key in your calculator, 2 cubed minus 3 times 2 squared minus 4, you will get -8. So this 2 is the information that I have now. Okay? Right? Then I think we can move on to part 3 of it. Oh, they asked us to sketch out the graph. Okay, so a few standard steps here that you can do. Okay, I might need to find the roots of it. So please take note, ax cubed minus plus bx squared plus cx plus d. So a is 1 here, b is -3, c is nothing because there's no x, but d will be -4. So time to key it in 1, -3, 0, -4. So I get 3.35 as one of them. Then the rest, I think there's I there. I means that it didn't touch. And to verify the last one, there's also an I there, which means I only have one intersection. And this intersection is at 3.36 lah. Okay, so I will label 3.36 and the two turning point is 0, -4. So -4 is here, let's say. Okay, so this is the first point, and then I have two -8. 1, 2, -8 is double the thing that we have here. So here's -8. So roughly somewhere around this part will be my second turning point. And I did touch the x, but it is at 3 point something. So let's say here then. So with this, you can now sketch it out. It went down, touching this part, coming back up. Okay, sorry. Draw it again. Try to keep it not that ugly. Okay, one last time. Okay, I've tried my best to draw it as nice as possible. Okay, but please take note that it don't have to be proportionate. Okay, moving on to the next part, we have question 10. We're almost done. Okay, let's check what do they want. They want us to show that AB is 10.52. Okay, AB is 10.52. Okay, so I will be drawing out this triangle that I'm using here. To be specific, I'm looking at A, B, C. AC I have 12.3, and this part here I have 31. So AB is what I'm looking for, and AB happens to be the adjacent. Then this is hypotenuse. So it's a car cosine 31 equals to AB over 12.3. So AB answer will be 12.3 times cosine 31. And the answer is 10.54. Okay, so this right here is your answer after correcting it to 2 decimal place. Moving on to the next part, they want us to show angle DAC. Okay, it's the second triangle now at the top. Okay, again a right angle here. DAC 12.5, 12.3. Okay, so to find this angle, again, they gave us the adjacent, and this is the hypotenuse. So cosine inverse angle DAC equals to cosine inverse 12.3 and 16.5. Cosine inverse 12.3, 16.5. You will get your final answer as 41.80. Okay, so I managed to prove 2 of the things here currently. Moving on to the next part, calculate BD. BD, so I update the value here. It was 41.8. This is actually 10.54. The next thing that they want was BD already. Okay, so the triangle that I'm dealing with is now ADB. So I draw a triangle ADB. ADB. This one at the middle will be 41.8 plus with the 31 that was given. So we are dealing with 72.8. Meanwhile, your AB is 10.54 and 16.5. 10.54, 16.5. So BD right here is the opposite of the angle that we have, and we have already have the exact 2 sides of the angle. So this one is an indirect hint of using your cosine rule formula. Okay. So you will have AD squared. I'm writing the formula down just for your reference. In the exam, you don't have to write this. Okay, if you figure it out already, you can use and apply the knowledge that you have. DAB. So the next part, I will skip the square root. Then 6.5 plus 10.54 square minus 2, 16.5, 10.54, and then cosine. Our angle here is 72.8. Then you'll be able to find your answer, 16.5 square plus 10.54 minus 2 times 16.5 times 10.54 times cosine 72.8. So you will be able to trace and backtrack your value of C as 16.83, which is approximately 16.8 centimeters here. Okay, not to say that it's hard. Okay, but this paper is weird. I keep on saying the same thing, but it's really weird. Okay, and like they're like super nice to everyone for some reason. The next one, they're looking at the small triangle DBC. Okay, D is here, B is here, C is here, and they are looking for this small angle value. Okay, we do have BD value now is 16.8. If I were to use the rounded value, did I key in anything wrong? Oh, it's 10.54. Wait. Okay, notice a issue here. Oh, okay, the answer is different. Okay, luckily I saw before I clear the calculator screen. It's 7478. So it's about 16.7. Okay. Okay. Luckily we saw it. Then I think with this thing now I can find either BC or DC. Okay, I'll be finding BC lah because it's here already. So just use your Pythagoras theorem. 12.3 square minus 10.54 square. So 12.3 square minus 10.54 square. You get your answer as 6.34. Okay, 6.34. So 6.34 is here. You also need DC value now. DC value is by having 16.5 square minus 12.3 square. So 16.5 square minus 12.3 square. You will get 10.998. Okay, so this one's a bit hard to round. Then just take 10.998. 10.998. And they are looking for angle CBD, which is the angle right at the middle here. With all three sides present, we will be using cosine rule again, but the second variation where you rearrange the whole thing accordingly. So it's based off this formula right here. Okay, and then when you rearrange cos C as the subject, or in this case, our cosine CBD, it will be your, this is the A, this is the B, this is the C lah, just in case. 16.7 square plus 6.34 square minus 10.998 square over the entire thing, 16.7, 6.34. So angle CBD value will be cosine inverse of the whole thing that you have here, which is 16.7 square plus 6.34 square minus 10.998. 6.34. I think that's it. 16.7 square plus 6.34 square minus 10.998 square. 2 times 16.7 times 6.34. I gotten the answer as 20.66. Just in case, is there any issue here? BD is 16.7, correct. 6.34, 12.3. Double check. Yeah, 6.34, correct. Then the other value is 16.5 square minus 12.3 square. It's correct as well. So with this three information, yeah, should be correct. Okay, so the angle value that I've decided to set here will be 20.67, or basically 20.7 lah, in this case. Okay, that's angle CBD. Distance of C to BD. Okay, so they're looking for this angle right here. So with the triangle, right angle triangle, we have 20.7 here. We have 6 point, I don't even need that. I need 6.34, and they are looking for this part. This is the opposite. There's the hypo. So sine 20.7 equals to OPP over 6.34. So OPP will be 6.34 times sine 20.7. 6.34 times sine 20.7. So my final answer is 2.24 for this shortest distance here. Okay, so that's pretty much it for this particular question. Okay, question 11 is a function question. Okay, all you have to do is just substitute -1 into j. So you will have -1 being squared. You will get 1 as your final answer lah. As we continue, you will have 2x minus 1 plus 3x plus 2 equals to 0. So based on the calculation here, you get 5x plus 1 equals to 0. X will be -1 over 5. Okay, so far, very straightforward question here as well. Moving on to C, where you have GGX here. So some students might find it confusing, but please do not panic and just add an additional brackets. It might help you out on solving this. So the entire gx is replaced as 3x plus 2. And this thing is now being replaced into the x again. So this is what you have now. When you multiply it up, you get 6x, 9x, because 3 times 3, plus 6 plus 2, which your final answer now it turns out to be 9x plus 8. Moving on to the next section, we have hgx plus ghx. So h here and then fx inside is replaced as 2x minus 1. Then g again, hx is replaced as 1 over x. So when I substitute it into h, I get 2x minus 1 here because it was replacing the whole x here. And then you will have 3 bracket 1 over x plus 2. So the catch here is to make them as a single fraction. So when you multiply, make sure you make their denominator the same. So to make the denominator same, looking at it, it will become 2x minus 1 like this. So the first group will have x missing. The second group will have the bracket missing. The last group will have the whole set that you need to put in will be x, 2x minus 1. So the first one will turns out to be x. The next one we will have a bracket of 2x minus 1. And then the last one we have a 2x minus 1. So you have to expand the things that you have here. I'm not touching the denominator, just leave it because it has been factorized and it is in the simplest form. 4x squared minus 2x. So 4x squared plus 4x. 7 minus 2, 5x. And then -3. Okay, just in case you have to double check and key in your calculator to see whether the numerator part can be factorized or not. Okay, although they can be factorized, but then it's not in the bracket form. So there's no need to factorize it, just leave it as it is, then you're done. Okay, moving on to the last part here in the function question. We have p bracket px equals to x, p inverse equals to px. Draw a ring around the function that has these properties. Okay, looking at it, I think hx will be the only possible answer here, because the rest, when you try to make a inverse of it, okay, let's say I just show you one of them as for, to do the verification. Okay, replace the fx as y, swap the x and y position, and find your new y will be x plus 1 over 2. Okay, prove it. Here and here will never be the same. That's why I didn't consider them both with plus minus. So the only option now will be hx and jx. Okay, I'm leaning or rooting for hx here. So y equals to 1 over x, swap them up, x equals to 1 over y, y equals to 1 over x. So I managed to prove that h inverse here will be 1 over x. Okay, so it did fulfill this condition. Then let's see whether this can be done or not. So when my hx, I will get h1 over x, 1 over x. You did ended up with x. So it fulfilled this condition as well. So the circle that I would make will be for function h. Okay, lastly, last question here. Draw the tangent graph. Wow. Okay, so please take note that tangent, we have a period that ends at 180 and it never touches 90. So that's why the graph will look something like this. Okay. If you wanted to verify this, you can actually key in your calculator tangent 90, then you get math error. But when you key in something like 89.9999999, you will still have value there. Okay, same goes to if you were to set the value as tangent 90.11111, then suddenly it will have answer as well. Okay, so please take note on this. Okay, even if this much 0 and 1, there's also value, just that they can't touch 90. Repeat on the same trend, you will have a second branch over here. Again, not touching at 270. And they must meet at 180 here. Same thing, go to the end. This is how your tangent graph will look like. So finally, they asked you about tangent graph. Okay, it has been 2 years plus after they updated the syllabus, and this is the first time tangent came out. Okay, so moving on to the last part, you have tangent x equals to 1 over square root 3. So this thing right here happens to be a positive. Okay, so if you follow your ASTEC rule, you must know that your answer will very likely be appearing here and here, because those are the part where tangent is positive. So to find your tangent inverse, 1 over square root 3, then tangent inverse 1 over square root 3, you will get 30 as your first answer. Okay, that's implying from here to here. So this is your first 30-degree results. That's one of them because I shaded at 2 parts. Please take note that you're trying to transfer it to here. Using your vertically opposite concept, the one that when you have a cross, the opposite side would be the same. You must know that it exceeded 180 by another 30. So the 2 answers that they want from you will be 30 degree and 210. Okay, there's a trap here. They should have like put a comma or something. Okay, but they didn't. So please take note. This is the 2 possible answer here. Okay, so overall, in my opinion, this is one of the easier paper 4 that they have created for the past few years, surprisingly. So as compared to paper 2, I think paper 2 is harder here. Okay, so question that students might still struggle will be question number 3 if you didn't read the question entirely. Some students might have trouble with question 10. Okay, in particular this question D and E here. Okay, D, please take note that if you wanted to use sine rule to calculate, it is also possible, but there might be a slight discrepancy in terms of the final results lah, because you are using different value. Okay, so for me, I use cosine rule. Okay, so I will wait until the marking scheme to be out first to verify this. And the last question, if I were to say that might be a little bit difficult, is actually question 11 or question 9. Okay, because some students are not familiar with how to draw a cubic graph. Okay, so if I were to rank, 9 is one of them. Number 3 is also one of them. And the last one will be this sine rule, cosine rule question here. Okay, and also the function lah. So these 4 are the major questions that students might struggle with. Okay, I will try to upload this as soon as possible. Okay, for those who is sitting for this May-June 2023, I wish you all the best in your examination. Okay, so that's it. Good luck, guys. Bye.